Bruce Wayne's dedication to the role of Gotham City's watchful guardian is almost superhuman. But even Batman needs a rest sometimes. Although the billionaire playboy is by far the most recognizable version of the Caped Crusader, there are times when circumstances have prevented him from carrying out his vigilante duties in the world of comics, animation, and film. During The Dark Knight's darkest hours, others have taken up the COWL, from original Robin Dick Grayson to the overzealous and borderline psychotic Jean-Paul Valley. While these experiments have yielded mixed fortunes, the fact others have taken on the mantle to save the day drives home the point that Batman is more than just a man. He's a force of nature, a symbol, and while Master Wayne himself might be the most famous character to inhabit that role, others have arguably triumphed where he would have otherwise failed. With that in mind, I'm Ewan from What Culture Comics, and here are 10 times Batman was forced to surrender his cowl. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10, 2017's Batman Annual. Tom King's stint on Batman has been a joy to experience, and a lot of that comes from the way the writers handled the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. We see their first date, or about as close to a date as this pair could get, and the moment that sparked their love for each other. Then, in an epilogue, King takes us to the couple's twilight. Bruce is no longer Batman, both he and Selina have grey hair, and the Bat in question is faced with a devastating diagnosis close to the book's finale. One of the most interesting things about it is that we discover that Bruce and Selina's daughter, called Helena, has become the new Batwoman. No one mentions Batman, and while most hypothetical Bat futures have had everyone from Terry McGinnis to Damian Wayne in the lead, it's refreshing to see Bruce's daughter lead the way. Number 9, Nightfall. During the Nightfall event, the venom-fueled villain Bane liberates Arkham Asylum, forcing the Caped Crusader to burn himself out while rounding up virtually every rogue he's ever previously encountered. Having learned his secret identity, the hulking criminal mastermind strikes when Bat is at his most vulnerable, and the battle leaves our hero with a damaged spine. The aftermath of Nightfall sees Bruce confined to a wheelchair and in need of a successor to watch over Gotham during his extended layoff. That said, he should probably have known better than to call on Azrael, an assassin trained by the Order of Saint Dumas, as his stand-in successor, and the events which followed are a testament to that. Although the Jean-Paul Valley incarnation of Batman did succeed in taking down Bane and a number of Gotham's cronies as well, he grew increasingly violent, adopting an armored costume complete with razor-sharp claws. Following Bruce's recovery later in the Night Saga, Azrael is unwilling to relinquish the cowl without a fight, which eventually goes the way you'd expect it to. Number 8, Prodigal. Following the spine-bending events of Nightfall, Bruce Wayne took yet another hiatus from the Batman role to do a little soul-searching. This time he was more discerning when passing on the torch, however, handing it to the original Robin, Dick Grayson, who had long since graduated with Nightwing honors. The ex-boy wonder proved himself worthy of the mantle and remains a fan favorite as far as alternative Batman go. Number 7, Battle for the Cowl. Following Bruce Wayne's apparent death at the hands of Darkseid during the events of Final Crisis, several contenders for the mantle of the Bat emerged. Jason Todd arose as a gun-toting Caped Crusader in the Battle for the Cowl arc, but since leaving criminals full of holes is the debasement of what Batman stands for, it fell to Dick Grayson to step up to the plate once again. Although Bruce's last will and testament urges Dick against becoming the Dark Knight, his original protege went on to head up his own Batman and Robin series with Batman's son Damian Wayne. Number 6, The Cape and Cowl Conspiracy. This early 90s episode of Batman animated series saw Bruce Wayne willingly hand over his cape and cowl as part of a convoluted plot to trap a Z-list villain called Josiah Wormwood. Wormwood, also known as the Interrogator, succeeds in ensnaring the Caped Crusader and getting his hands on his own iconic costume. But the Dark Knight's secret identity remains intact since Bruce was wearing a balaclava beneath the mask. The villain was actually hired to steal the cape and cowl by a small-time criminal called the Baron. But in a table-turning twist, this turned out to be Batman in disguise. Number 5, The Dark Knight Returns. Old age catches up with all of us eventually, and as we join Bruce Wayne in the opening pages of Frank Miller's seminal Dark Knight Returns, the elderly billionaire has long since retired from crime fighting. But, as this is the tale of a man recapturing his former glory, the cowl wasn't left to gather dust in the Batcave for long. What follows was a triumphant comeback, during which the seasoned Batman recruits a young Carrie Kelly to be his new Robin. He then defeats a gang of mutants and rekindles his deadly rivalry with the Joker before clashing with a Reagan-controlled Superman. Number 4, Batman Beyond. Oh yes, here we go, Batman f***ing Beyond. In the Batman Beyond universe, Old Age was once again Bruce Wayne's ancillary antagonist, but that doesn't mean there's no Dark Knight. The premise of this 3-season animated show saw the original Batman forced to hand over the cowl to a younger successor in the shape of Terry McGinnis. The first episode begins with an aged Bruce suffering a heart attack in what was meant to be a routine rescue mission, before the action jumps forward to a Neo-Gotham in 2039. With the help of Bruce's guidance and a high-tech batsuit, Terry proved himself worthy of the mantle and went on to star in a feature-length animated film and score a handful of canonical appearances in the world of DC Comics too. Number 3, The Dark Knight Rises. The concluding chapter of Christopher Nolan's epic Dark Knight trilogy divided fans for ending on this note, but in many ways, it was actually quite fitting. Presumed to have met an explosive end, Bruce Wayne is ultimately revealed to have faked his death to relinquish the cowl in favor of living happily ever after in Florence with Selina Kyle. Ignoring for a second how neat and tidy the ending to The Dark Knight Rises truly is, it was apt to see John Blake inherit the Batcave and presumably the Batman moniker along with it. Number 2, Divergence. Not for the first time, Bruce Wayne was seemingly killed during the Endgame storyline, and DC Comics were in dire need of a new Caped Crusader. That honor fell upon to the most unlikely of suspects, with the shoulders of Commissioner Jim Gordon now bearing the responsibility of the Batman mantle. Gordon's stint in the enhanced cape and cowl during the Divergence event proved to be a breath of fresh air and posed some important questions about Batman. Of course, Bruce is later found alive working in a children's center with a bad case of amnesia, but trust us on this, it's better than it sounds. Number 1, Batman 666. Bruce Wayne himself didn't have much of a say in how his Bat career ended in this alternative universe story, since writer Grant Morrison saw fit to have him killed in action. This time, Bruce's biological son, Damian, was chosen to inherit the cowl, and Morrison had all kinds of fun evoking the omen by having the character sell his soul to the devil. Naturally, this Satan-powered incarnation of Batman employed more brutal crime-fighting methods than his father, and although they saw him end up on the wrong side of a fully grown Superboy and Police Commissioner Barbara Gordon, they were certainly effective. All of this only culminated in a climactic battle between Damian and the Antichrist, which ended with the anti-hero telling Gordon that the apocalypse is cancelled until he says so.
God, look at that! They made it through to the end of the video! Well done, you. I wouldn't have.
We're so proud.
Yeah, so why not like, share, subscribe below for more fun like this? And also, there's some videos to the left and the right between me and my boy here, Ewan, and you can catch more of us. It might be okay.
It might be. Probably won't.